friends. Stop 2 of our Ellis Island tour, The Arrival. The trip across the Atlantic Ocean was rough. The ships were crowded and dirty, so most passengers were very tired when they arrived in New York Harbor. One of the first things they saw was the Statue of Liberty, which had stood on its own island in the harbor since 1886. People would cheer when they spotted this famous symbol of America. Some would weep with joy as the ship passed by it. To weep is to cry from this overwhelming joy and emotion. Health officers would board the ship in the harbor and look for signs of diseases. If the ship passed their inspection, doctors then would check the health of first and second class passengers on the ship. These lucky few were processed quickly and could leave the ship when it docked at New York City. But third class passengers often would wait for hours or days until a smaller ferry boat took them to Ellis Island for immigration processing. Let's check out some photos. This is a picture of immigrants as they spot the Statue of Liberty as they arrive in New York Harbor, and you can see that they're all looking and facing, and the men are putting their hats up, cheering because they're so excited. The Statue of Liberty was dedicated on Liberty Island in New York Harbor in 1886. It became a famous symbol of America for arriving immigrants. The Statue of Liberty seen from the deck of the ships, so people would come out as they approached and watch what was happening. In this photo, you can see that they're all crammed together to look at the Statue of Liberty. Passengers wait on the ship for a barge to take them to Ellis Island. A barge is a different type of boat to get them to Ellis Island. Passengers in first class often did not have to step foot on Ellis Island. If you were in first class, this meant that you had more money, and then you could go right from the boat to Manhattan. So it says after an onboard medical inspection, they went straight to Manhattan to disembark. Disembark means that you could get right off the ship and start your life in America. Next, we're going to listen to this audio recording of a man. He was 6 years old when he immigrated to the United States, and he just shares his feelings about what he experienced as a little boy. So please listen carefully.
Okay, now we got on the boat. Of course, we went steerage. Steerage meant a horrible experience, but to me, as a youngster, I guess it was fun. We slept in double-decker beds and bunks. My mother had a double-decker bunk, and my father had a double-decker bunk with myself on the top. I guess my sister slept with her. And food was not good. The conditions were terrible. And the food was so bad that my father and I would sneak up to an upper class. They were barricaded. You weren't allowed to go, but we snuck up there, and we found garbage cans on the deck in the corner. And the garbage of the first class passengers were placed there, and the sailors used to throw pieces out for the gulls, and we would steal from the garbage can pieces of meat, even though we were kosher, but we were so hungry that we took them.
So what's it like coming into New York Harbor finally?
Well, one morning there was a complete rumble which got louder and louder and louder. We couldn't identify it, what it was. It was very early in the morning, maybe 6, maybe 7 in the morning. I have no idea, but it was very, very early in the morning at daybreak. And we heard this tremendous rumble, which got louder and louder and louder. So my father and I, we dressed immediately and we ran out to the deck. And there were people of all denominations, some on their knees making the sign of the cross, Jews in their prayer shawls, as we were passing the Statue of Liberty. It was the first time I saw it. It was a great sight.
So Lauren was interviewed years later and talks about what it was like to finally arrive in New York Harbor at 6 years old. And you hear a change in his voice. I want you to think about when you're writing your response today, how was he feeling? What do you notice he's doing? He begins to cry, but is he crying because he's sad, or is he crying because it was such an emotional experience to finally see land, to finally get to America and feel that sense of freedom and to start a new life? The last thing we're going to look at today is a video. And the video is footage from 1903 of immigrants arriving to New York, and they step foot on American soil for the first time. As you watch this, you notice that the images are in black and white, and there's no sound. But look at the different clothing. Is it similar or different to what we have today? Look at the boats. Look at the items people have. I want you to be thinking in your head, do you see things that are similar or different to life that we live in today? One observation I have is I can see that most women always had a hat or some type of cloth covering their hair, whether it was a bonnet or a scarf. And the men usually also had a hat. They're also dressed in nicer attire, like a suit and a bow tie or a dress. And they are carrying all their belongings. Everything they brought with them is in these bags or these packages that they have. They packed up their entire life in just these few suitcases and came to America. So that is stop 2. We're going to do one last did you know. At 15 years old, a 15-year-old girl was the first Ellis Island immigrant. Kind of cool. So the first person to go through immigration processing at the Ellis Island station was a 15-year-old girl named Annie Moore. As the New York Times reported, the rosy-cheeked Irish girl came to America with 2 younger brothers. Their parents were already in New York waiting for them. Only 75% of a ship's passengers went to Ellis Island. About 3/4 of a ship's passengers were typically taken to Ellis Island. The others were cleared immediately to entrance into the United States and went through customs in New York City. So 75%, which is about 3/4, if you think of fractions, 3/4 or 75% went to Ellis Island, and then a quarter, about 25% or 1/4, went right to New York City. And our last fact today, I just said that, I'm sorry. So that was our last fact today. So we learned about the first little girl who came to America, and we learned about arrival and saw images and listened to footage of what it was like to come to America.